Hello, everybody. I've gotten a number of questions over the months about the ACBL convention card, so I thought I'd put together a brief explanation um, of the card as best I can. So I will share screen. Um, the ACBL is the American Contract Bridge League. It's the governing body for the bulk of competitive bridge in the US, Canada, and Mexico. And when you're playing in an ACBL event, whether it's at your local club or a sectional or a regional or a national, your opponents are entitled to know what your bidding agreements are and your opening lead agreements and the agreements that you have about defensive carding, which we call signaling. So discards and so on and what they mean. The idea of the convention card is to provide a physical format for showing your basic agreements. In addition, if you're playing at the club or wherever opponents are entitled to ask additional questions, you may make a bid and they may say to your partner, what's your agreement about that bid? And we'll cover that another time. The ACBL adopted a new convention card in 2022, but many people prefer to use the old one, which is still permitted, and it's the old one that I'm going to walk through today. So we'll talk about how to fill out a basic convention card for standard American bidding, opening leads, and signaling. The convention card looks very intimidating if you've never filled one out or looked at one before. So we'll take it a section at a time and it'll be fine. You'll find it's a lot like the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain and there's nothing frightening there. Some years ago, the ACBL had a simplified convention card that was used in games that were limited to newer players with small numbers of master points. So I thought I would look at that first as kind of a warm-up. So this is what part of the card looks like, and I'm just going to move fairly quickly through and show how one would fill it out. So the first thing is, what is your strong forcing opening bid when you've got a really big hand and you want partner to bid? And we would nowadays mark the two club bid. Back in the old day, there were other agreements. And your no trump opening bids, one no trump is 15 to 17, and two no trump is 20 to 21. There was a section on Stayman, and that has changed, but we would say we have non-forcing Stayman. We would also say that our major openers, if you open one heart and one spade, how often would you do that on four card suit? Nowadays, the answer is essentially never. Back when I learned how to play in the 60s, the answer was often. Minor opening bids, we promised three cards and response. So one spade by me and three spades by partner, that's a jump raise. We call that a limit raise, 11 to 12 points with four card support or more. Minor opening bids, you'll see there's basically a section of this for every key part of the bidding agreements. Minor opening bids promise at least three card length. One no trump response to a club is 6 to 9, and a jump raise of a club or a diamond is, again, a limit raise, 11 or 12 with four cards or more in support. We rarely make this bid over a minor opener. In fact, to bid it in clubs, you should have five, not four, because opener, one time out of six is going to have only three. And then the rest of the card down here is archaic and it's confusing. There's a second side to the card, and that's where you describe some of your competitive bidding agreements and your carding agreements. So a simple overcall for us is about 7 to 17 high card points. A jump overcall, right-hand opponent opens a heart, I bid two spades. That's a preemptive bid, just like a two-spade opener. Our opening preempts, I would characterize them as light. Again, these are some kind of older descriptions. Over opponents' preempts, a double is for takeout. And we, back in the day, there was much more uncertainty about that. Nowadays, doubles of opponents preempts are for takeout. One no trump overcall shows 13 to 15. We'll talk about that sometime in one of the regular talks. You expand the 17 to 18 because once the opponent's bid, it's harder to describe your hand. So a little less precision is actually helpful. The rest of the card is archaic and confusing. So let's move on to the current card, and I'm just going to step through it a piece at a time. So how would you fill out the first part of the card? You'd put in your name, and you'd put in your ACBL number if it's a regular partnership and you just want to have it written down so that you always have it with you when you're playing. General approach, our general approach is standard American. We don't play 2/1 game forcing. We don't make very light opening bids. Our forcing opening bid is 2 clubs. If we bid 2 clubs, partner must respond. And on each of these pages, I'll have a little bit more information in the PDF. In particular, there's not much to do here. Name, standard American, 2 clubs is forcing. 2/1 game forcing is a slight enhancement of the standard American system. Dana and I play it, and you may want to switch to it someday. It's very similar to standard American, but it is, I think, an improvement. And some people play systems that are very different. You see the 1 club here as a forcing opening. Some people play systems that use 1 club as their strong opening bid in order to keep the bidding low with strong hands. You won't see this in 0 to 20 games or games for people with 0 to 499 master points. Extremely rare. Okay, then there's a section on no trump opening bids. So for us, a 1 no trump opener is 15 to 17 balanced. If you're like me, you're willing to make a 1 no trump opening bid, even if you have a 5-card major, if the hand is balanced. I think the word common here is not really appropriate, but I'm sorry, 2 no trump is 20 to 21. We're willing to open 1 no trump with a 5-card major. I think the word common is a little misleading because you don't commonly have one, but if you have a 5-card major at 15 to 17, you'll commonly open 1 no trump, I guess. What do we do in response? Well, we play Stayman. And we play transfers. 2 diamonds is a transfer to hearts, and 2 hearts is a transfer to spades. So those are our basic agreements. We'll also play transfers over a 2 no trump opening bid. I don't know why they don't have Stayman listed. Puppet Stayman is a variation that we won't worry about. Again, very straightforward. 1 no trump opener is 15 to 17, high card points, balanced. You might have a 5-card major and you use Stayman and Jacoby transfer. Don't worry about anything else that's on this page. Eventually, you might want to have agreements for what it means if partner opens 1 no trump and you bid 3 clubs or 3 hearts, but we won't worry about them for quite a while. Okay, now there's a section on major opening bids and minor opening bids. And you see it's a little more involved than what was on the simplified card. So for major opening bids, we are generally promising at least 5 cards in the suit. So you put X's on those. In terms of responses, if I open 1 heart, partner bids 3 hearts. For us, that's 11 to 12 points, 4-card support or longer, and it's an invitational bid inviting game. So we would check invitational. And in fact, after an overcall, so I open a spade, the next person bids 2 clubs and partner bids 3 spades. That's also an invitational bid. There's some other possibilities, but that's what we do. Minor opening bid promises 3 cards only. In terms of responses, we'll again say that a raise to 3 is invitational, even if it's over interference. And you begin to get the idea of this is how you fill the card out. You just look at some of these common situations. several things here you just don't need to worry about. Two no trump over a minor should show a balanced hand with 11 or 12. It would also deny a 4-card major because you would show the 4-card major if you have one. General agreement is 3 no trump is 13 to 15, and 1 no trump over 1 club for us is 6 to 9. Yeah, there's a gap here. What do you do with 10? But really, this should probably be 6 to 10, but then you have to remember 6 to 9 over a major and 6 to 10 over a minor. It's just not worth the hassle. And besides, if you've got partner opens a minor, you're trying to bid a suit anyway. So again, major opener promises 5 cards. A jump raise is invitational. Minor opener promises 3 cards, although the vast majority of the time it's 4 or more. And a jump raise is invitational. Then there's a section on opening 2-level bids. For us, 2 clubs is our strong opening bid, showing 22 plus high card points. This is a little misleading. We'll talk about that in a sec. And generally, responder will bid 2 diamonds as a quote waiting bid. 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, and then opener has a chance to describe her hand. Does she bid 2 spades, saying she has a really strong hand with a spade suit? Does she bid 2 no trump, saying she has a balanced 22 to 24? So generally, responder wants to just bid 2 diamonds and give opener time to describe. And all of our other 2-level bids are weak. Generally 5 to 11 high card points. It should be a good suit. The honor cards should generally be concentrated in that suit. Again, 2 clubs is your strong opening bid. Partner must respond. You could have 30 points. You'll also open 2 clubs with a suit-oriented hand that's worth 22 points in terms of high card points plus length. But as near as I can tell, the card doesn't really let you say that. And again, responder usually bids 2 diamonds. There's a section over here for the week 2 openers. What do bids by responder mean? So if I open 2 diamonds and my partner bids 2 no trump, what does that mean? If she bids 2 hearts, what does that mean? For now, just don't worry about it. You just wing it. It's fine. And there are a bunch of other conventions in this section of the card, none of which apply to standard American. Now there's a section on competitive bidding. Notice before that there was a section on doubles of preempts. Thinking has changed. So in this section, we are not going to use any of these so-called special doubles. The negative double is a wonderful convention that you'll want to adopt at some point. But for now, you don't need to worry about this part of the card. Simple overcall is still 7 to 17. If it's at the weekend, all the high card points should be in your suit, basically. I try to avoid doing this unless I have certainly at least 8, maybe 9. You could have agreements about right-hand opponent opens a club, I bid a heart. What does it mean for my partner to bid? And eventually you'll want to have agreements like that. But for now, we just don't worry about it. We'll just wing it. 1 no trump overcall will show 15 to 18. And you expand the range a little bit because it's just harder once the person on the right opens. It's a little harder to describe your hand. And then there's a little checkbox here for something called systems on. And we'll check that. What that means is if the person on my left makes an opening bid and then my partner bids 1 no trump, I can still bid Damon or transfers. That's what the so-called systems on means. So again, a 1-level overcall could be pretty weak. It's usually not that weak. One no trump overcall is treated just like a no trump opener. You have to have opener suit stopped, however, and partner of the one no trump overcaller can use staining and transfers. For us, a jump overcall is weak. So a righty opens a club and I bid 3 spades. That's just like a 3-spade preempt. Our opening preempts are light. They're definitely not very light. And I don't think they're sound. I don't even know what that means. And we're not going to worry about most of the rest of this part of the card. Versus opponent preempts, a double is takeout. And then the question comes, well, how high is it takeout? General agreement is if I double 2 hearts, it's for takeout. If I double an opening bid of 3 spades, it's for takeout. But after you get up to about 4 hearts, anything higher than that as a preempt that you double generally is penalty oriented. And eventually you want to add agreements for what responder bids after an opponent makes a takeout double. So I bid a heart and then the next person makes a takeout double. What does it mean when my partner bids? And you want to add agreements about Q bids. Q bid means that you bid the opponent's suit. And for right now, you just don't need to worry about those things. Just fill in the things that are pretty common. Jump over calls and preempts and how high you play takeout doubles, recommended through 4 hearts. There's a section on slam conventions. In week 24, we will talk about Roman key card Blackwood using 1430 responses, or some people call it 1430. And we're not going to worry about any of the rest of this. So there are a lot of things that people could do, but all you need to do is have some basic agreements and just fill it out. And the last section of the card is about your defensive agreements. What card do you lead? And how do you do your signaling to partner? So for us, our primary signal when partner leads an honor card is attitude. If partner leads an ace and I have the queen, I'll play a high spot card to say, keep it coming. But if I don't have the queen, I'll play a low spot card. I'll also play a high spot card if I have a doubleton so that I can go high, low, and then rough the 3rd round. We generally lead 4th best versus suits and versus no trump. Of course, we lead honor cards if there's a sequence, and that's what the top part of this is about. You'll notice it's a little hard to see on here that some of the letters are bolded and sometimes there's nothing bolded. The bolds are the general agreement, the most common agreement. And then in some places, some people still lead ace or king from ace king. That was very common in the 60s. I don't do it. Dana and I don't do it anymore. So you circle any cards where you do something different. So we would lead ace from ace king against no trump with ace king jack. We'd lead the ace. With 4 small, we'd lead a small one. And with king queen 10-9, we'd lead the king. Why are we different in a few places? Talk about that in a sec. And our defensive carding is standard versus suits and versus no trump. High tends to encourage, low tends to discourage. The differences between our lead agreements and what's on the card are very minimal. And the reason is we want to keep things simple and consistent. So we will, against a no trump contract, if we have king, queen, 10-9, we'll lead the king. People with more experience tend to have agreements to lead the queen, and it's not worth talking about that. The one thing that you may hear sometimes is if you're leading from a suit that has no honor card versus no trump, a lot of people lead what's called top of nothing. But just for simplicity, we've agreed to lead 4th best. That's the end of the share. I can't see where my face showed up, if indeed it did, on this display as I talked. It may have blocked a few things. I'll try to figure out how to fix that another time. Thanks so much. Bye.